Hey Bashers, in this video we've got the version 4 Kraton, and this one belongs to a friend of the channel, Alan. He owns this one and he's been having some problems. We were out in the field, we were unable to get the ESC to come online. We were having some glitchy spots with the radio, so in this video we're going to have a really good look at it, make sure everything's up and running, and repair the ESC if necessary. I really don't know what's going to happen yet because this thing, we tried everything we could think of in the field and we could not get it to come online. So it really makes me wonder what's going on with this thing. Once we get that solved, we're going to go ahead and show you how we do our maintenance on these bigger machines and what we consider to be a requirement for making sure these things stay beautiful and yet functional so things don't go sideways on you. This should be pretty informative and pretty cool too. Check this out. Alright, so let's get right down on the bench and see what the problem is. Alright, so when we were out in the field, this would not boot up and all we had was a flashing light on the ESC. I couldn't understand it. We weren't getting any power through the thing and everything seemed to be, well, messed up as far as that goes. We could not get it to work in the field. We installed some fresh batteries in the transmitter. We put a fairly charged battery in it and it was only a 4S battery. And if you notice, we let it sit for a second while it was blinking and then everything came online and it's working well now. So we are going to play with this a little bit and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. But at the same time, we're going to go ahead and do a maintenance video on it. This one hasn't been tuned up in a while. The differentials appear to be working good. The gearing sounds okay, but we're going to have an inspection on that. We're going to lube all the bearings. We'll do a thorough cleaning on it and we'll show you exactly how we do that. That should be pretty interesting anyway because we've kind of modified how we do things a little bit, but at the same time this should look brand new when we're done with it. Alright, so before we take this out for the cleaning and all of that good stuff as far as the maintenance cycle goes, now that we know that the ESC booted up and now we know the radio is working, we're going to take it out for a test run. So we're going to charge a couple batteries up, we're going to go out and we're going to run this and have a good time with it and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. And then we'll bring it into the maintenance cycle and show you how all of that is done. Here we go. All right, so there was our test, and this thing handled just the way it's supposed to. The speed control worked good, the radio worked really well, we didn't have any problems with range issues, everything worked the way it was designed, and of course we ran this on 4S the way Alan runs it, because we want to run it the way he's going to. We could push it to 6S, but there's really no point since Alan actually doesn't run his at 6S. So the test was successful, everything works, and now, take a look, this thing got destroyed out there. It's really dirty. It's ugly, and we're going to show you how to go ahead and get this back to where it looks good again, and we're going to do the maintenance cycle. So let's get started with that. All right, so now that we got it all rinsed off, it's time to dry it up, and we need to do this right away. We were really careful rinsing around the radio and ESC and all that stuff, but now it's time to dry it as quickly as possible. And what we have here is we have a towel laying down on the bench and a fan, and we're going to use the regular temperature of the studio, and we're just going to blow it across. So let's get it set up and crank up the fan. Okay, so the general idea here is to just get everything as dry as possible, because the thing is, if you wait too long and you let that water sit, it will rust up the bolts and everything, so we want to dry things right up. And when we washed it, you know that we've got moisture down in the bearings, and that's got to be taken care of quickly as well. So this will take a little time. We'll let it sit under the fan for maybe a half an hour, maybe an hour, depending on how long it takes to dry. And we will flip it to make sure we get everything nice and dried out before we get into the maintenance. All right, so now it's dry and we've got it sitting on the bench. The towel, of course, is out of the way and we are ready to get after this. Now, we're going to go ahead and have a look at the suspension. We're going to have a look at everything. We're going to get down and take a look at the gearing. We're going to pop the ends and have a look at the differentials. Make sure that the differentials are floating perfectly. They're not having any issues that way. We're just going to take a look at the shimming and make sure that things are still nice and snug when it comes to that. Then we'll show you how to pretty this thing up, and we'll show you how we lube the bearings. Now, this is our way of doing it, and there's 1,000 ways to do everything, and most of them work. This is just how we do it. First, we want to take a look at the suspension here and see how that works. Everything feels good on that. Nice light fluid in the front. He likes it that way. Back feels good. No binding. Beautiful. Could tighten the fronts up a little bit just to keep it from bottoming out so much, but that's pretty good. The shocks appear to be working good. Don't have any damage in the wing mounts, the arms, and this is something that we have here. These are the RPM arms, and these are the version 4 that we have on here, and the RPM arms definitely improve things as far as durability goes. This thing takes a beating, but it also has new hinge pin brackets, and those are really solid and they're aluminum. So that's a beautiful thing. All right, so we walked through the gearing and everything seems to be working pretty good. We did have to shim the rear differential. The front one was in good shape. We didn't show you that one because there was really nothing to do and it was the same as the rear. We just shimmed the rear only, so that was fine. We did set the gap on the pinion and that quieted it up some, so tuning that a little bit did take some of the noise out of it. It's actually pretty quiet now, which is pretty cool. Now we're going to put the wheels and tires back on it and we're going to show you how to make it pretty. So you wanted to know how we keep things looking brand new around here? Well, that's how we do it. We're not afraid to use water, but use it wisely. You definitely don't want to spray straight on the speed control or the radio box. All the electronics, try and work around them. You may not have noticed in the video, but we worked around those. We got them a little bit wet, but we didn't power anything into them. And you didn't see us use an air hose and blow the moisture down into the electronics. We let it air dry with the fan. That is a huge deal. The silicone lube that we use, it's good stuff and it definitely dries up, but it keeps that sheen, which is really nice, and it protects what's underneath it, which is also a bonus. But what we're using on the bearings is not that stuff. We do use it before we go and run, but we use Multimax, and this is from Blaster as well. Really like the Blaster products. They seem to work really well on this stuff. But that does not dry out and it gets down in the bearings. So if you're going to store your car for any length of time, it would be a good idea to get something like that in there. I would stay away from WD-40 though, because it has a tendency to soften plastic and Blaster doesn't seem to do that. So I would lean towards that because you don't want your plastics to change the way they were designed to be used. At the same time, just this little bit of work here and there, if you didn't have to do maintenance, cleanup's a breeze. So there you go. That's how we maintain our stuff here, and we've had decades of good luck doing it this way, and it's morphed and it's changed a little bit over the years when we find new products and whatever, but so far this is the best system that we've come across yet. If you guys have any way that you do it that's different than this and works well for you, please feel free to get down in the comments down below and share with others along the way. For AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep wrenching.